The Surgeon General of the United States raises the possibility of legalizing drugs. Prison time for Damian Williams in the Reginald Denny beating case. And on America Close Up, deadbeat parents, they owe billions. Now some solutions for collecting.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. President Clinton tonight made it clear that he does not support the legalization of drugs in America in an effort to reduce crime. But his Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders, raised that very possibility today. The first high-level Clinton administration official to put this provocative idea on the public agenda. NBC's national correspondent, Bob Kerr.
The Surgeon General lived up to her reputation as a lightning rod today when she was asked if it's necessary to legalize drugs to fight crime.
60% of most of our violent crimes are associated with alcohol or drug use. And I do feel that we would markedly reduce our crime rate if drugs were legalized. But I don't know. I don't know all of the ramifications of this, and I do feel that we need to do some studies.
Elders was careful to point out she was not speaking for the administration. In fact, Bill Clinton as a candidate and now as president has said he opposes legalization.
I have a brother who's a recovering drug addict. I'm very proud of him. But I can tell you this, if drugs were legal, I don't think he'd be alive today. I am adamantly opposed to legalizing drugs.
And if there's any doubt Elders is at odds with the administration, just listen to drug czar Lee Brown.
The legalization of drugs would be the moral equivalent to genocide. The president and I will never surrender to the defeatism of those who would legalize drug use in this country.
Illegal drugs are a $48 billion a year business according to government estimates. The cost to the healthcare system has been as high as $58 billion a year. The Netherlands and some other countries have decriminalized drugs, including heroin, and Elders says some of their crime rates have gone down. But experts say circumstances in the U.S. are so different that comparisons are questionable.
Tonight, White House officials say Elders is not in serious trouble, but that she will get a phone call to remind her of administration policy. A distraction like this is just what the president does not need as he encourages national debates on crime and health. Bob Kerr, NBC News, Washington.
There was another surprise today from another high-ranking Clinton administration official. The United States tested radiation on humans and concealed hundreds of nuclear tests. First word came from Energy Secretary Hazel O'Leary in an interview this morning on Today. With the rest of the story tonight, NBC's Robert Hager.
The U.S. began confessing today to nuclear secrets of the Cold War. Human experiments. The government confirmed earlier reports that at least 695 civilians were used as guinea pigs. Revealed 204 previously concealed underground nuclear explosions in the Nevada desert, 1/5 of all atomic testing the U.S. did, and revealed problems with storage of spent nuclear fuel at aging weapons facilities around the country. All this for the first time today from Energy Secretary Hazel O'Leary.
We are declassifying the largest amount of information in the history of the Department of Energy.
O'Leary confirmed a 1986 congressional report that terminal cancer patients, residents of old people's homes, or prisoners were fed, injected with, or exposed to small amounts of plutonium, radium, uranium, or other radioactive substances. Purpose? To search for cures for cancer, or sometimes simply to see how a healthy body would react. But subjects of the experiments had little idea what they were getting into.
I was appalled and shocked, and it just gave me an ache in my gut and my heart.
Other details of today's revelations: the number of underground explosions concealed to keep the Russians off guard is about twice as large as scientists outside the government had guessed, and continued until 1990. 17 occurred during the Reagan administration and 1 under President Bush. As for problems with storage of spent fuel, they're concentrated at Hanford, Washington, Idaho Falls, Idaho, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Savannah River, South Carolina. The department showed pictures of corroded canisters of plutonium and uranium stored in pools at these facilities and said they could pose a threat one day to employees and the environment.
More information will be declassified in June, but there's plenty to work with. If all the government's secret nuclear documents were piled up, the stack would reach 32 times higher than the Washington Monument. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
When we come back, closing the book on the Denny trial, the judge hands Damian Williams the maximum. And trying to find the terrible truth in Petaluma. What really happened to Polly Klaas? When did it happen? And a Kodak moment in space as the Endeavour astronauts give the Hubble a new camera. This crime was more than a year and a half ago, and the end of the story came today in a Los Angeles courtroom. Damian Williams, one of the young black men convicted of beating white truck driver Reginald Denny during the Los Angeles riots, got the maximum prison sentence. NBC's George Lewis now.
Before the judge passed sentence on Damian Williams, he ordered a replay of video shot at the epicenter of the riots, the corner of Florence and Normandy Avenues in Los Angeles. These scenes had been played and replayed throughout the trial, but the judge apparently wanted to underscore what he said was the serious nature of the crime.
Mr. Williams, it's intolerable in this society to attack and maim people because of their race.
The most famous of the victims is truck driver Reginald Denny. Williams later expressed remorse for what happened, but the judge was not moved by that.
And it is hard to credit the defendant's statement of remorse given to the probation officer, given the defendant spitting on Mr. Denny's prone body and the victory dance Mr. Williams performed in the intersection within a few feet of Mr. Denny's bloody body.
While Williams got 10 years, less 2 years credit for the time he's already served, his co-defendant, Henry Watson, received 4 years probation and 320 hours community service on misdemeanor charges. As he was let out of court by bailiffs, Williams appeared to be in a happy mood. He will probably serve only 3 to 4 years in prison. Carolyn Walters, the foreperson of the jury that tried the case, criticized the sentence.
The proceedings themselves were not fair. The charges were excessive, and I believe that the sentence is not fair. I think it's too harsh.
I think she's entirely wrong, and that makes me wonder whether or not that foreperson had a hidden agenda from the very beginning.
Reactions to the sentence fell pretty much along racial lines, showing how, a year and a half after the riots, this city remains deeply divided. George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Also in California, arraignment tonight for the man charged with kidnapping and murdering 12-year-old Polly Klaas. This, as reporters are learning, leaning on the police for answers, and the community is trying to cope with its grief. NBC's Larry Carroll now.
With violent criminals.
It was an emotional Mark Klaas who held his first news conference since his daughter was confirmed dead.
My beautiful daughter Polly is dead. America's child is dead.
For the last 2 days, Petaluma police have been working around the clock trying to find out how and why Polly died. They've also been trying to deal with press reports around a jailhouse conversation Saturday with a suspect, Richard Allen Davis.
There have been inaccuracies reported. I've asked, can we clarify those inaccuracies? And I've been told that I'm not to speak to physical evidence.
At issue are questions involving the time of Polly's death and whether deputies who encountered Davis that night could have saved her. Sheriff's deputies were called here by a suspicious resident when Davis's car went over the side just an hour after Polly was kidnapped. Deputies say they questioned Davis for 38 minutes. They searched his car, but found nothing. The deputies were unaware that an APB had been broadcast about a kidnapping. They were on a different frequency than the one that carried the bulletin. The sheriff has called for a complete investigation.
We're going to take a look at this entire incident, minute by minute, second by second, and find out exactly what information we received, at what time, and what we did with that information.
What remains is the case against Davis, due for arraignment late today on murder and kidnapping charges. But the Klaas family is not willing to let the issue die with their daughter.
There are other Pollys out there, and they're being taken all the time, and we have to continue the fight. We lost the fight, we cannot lose the war.
Klaas is scheduled to meet with California Senators Boxer and Feinstein about that fight on Thursday. Larry Carroll, NBC News, Petaluma, California.
Well, Nightly News continues in a moment, dealing with the North Korean nuclear threat, the possibilities and the risks of a preemptive airstrike. The Korean question continues to rankle tonight, what to do about North Korea's refusal to allow inspections of its nuclear sites. President Clinton and South Korean President Kim agreed today that the North's latest offer of just limited inspections is unacceptable. Defense Secretary Les Aspin did have a public appearance today, but as NBC's Ed Rabel reports, most of this is being managed behind closed doors.
Though Defense Secretary Aspin barely mentioned North Korea in his speech, defense officials tell NBC News that that communist country clearly is the first test in America's new initiative to stop weapons of mass destruction, a broad plan to protect the U.S. against what Aspin calls the new post-Cold War threats.
The one that most urgently and directly threatens Americans at home and American interests abroad is the new nuclear danger.
Preemptive airstrikes are not ruled out by the Pentagon's new program, but publicly defense officials say diplomacy is the best option to halt North Korea's nuclear weapons project.
In North Korea, for example, topic much in the news nowadays, our goal is still prevention.
But privately, defense officials tell NBC News that preemptive strikes are a consideration. Yet the White House says such military action is not being planned. Military leaders have warned that airstrikes might spread deadly nuclear pollution and would not guarantee destruction of North Korea's nuclear arms program. If airstrikes can't be used and diplomacy fails, what's left? The new U.S. program to halt nuclear weapons calls for building missile defense systems for South Korea and Japan. Ed Rabel, NBC News, the Pentagon.
There is this encouraging word from 365 miles up in space tonight. The Hubble telescope repair mission is on schedule and mistake-free at this point, now more than halfway through the most complex task that NASA has tried since landing on the moon. NBC's Jay Barbary.
Wonderful. Move the arm back about 2 feet. Beautiful.
NASA says Spacewalk 3 went as well as the first two, with astronauts Story Musgrave and Jeffrey Hoffman installing a new planetary camera.
Oh, look at that baby. Beautiful, spanking new with We'll take some nice pictures with that.
They worked in near darkness to prevent damage to the new camera from sunlight. Installing the camera, about the size of a baby grand piano, was easy. It just slid in. It should now correct the telescope's blurry vision so astronomers can see the most distant stars and galaxies.
Looking forward to seeing the pictures.
Once the camera was in place, the two spacewalkers were lifted by the robotic arm to the top of the 4-story telescope to install 2 new magnetometers. Magnetometers help position the space observatory.
But don't forget, Sarge, I'm through the heights.
This spacewalk completed the first of 2 steps needed, so Hubble can see to the fringes of the universe. Step 2 comes tonight. The spacewalkers will install a phone booth-sized box of instruments that should complete the restoration of Hubble's vision. It will take at least 6 weeks of testing before astronomers know if the telescope's repairs work. If they do, it will show them the remotest parts of the universe. Jay Barbary, NBC News at the Johnson Space Center, Houston.
Another big telephone company and another big television company said today that they're merging, Southwestern Bell and Cox Cable Communications, forming a partnership worth nearly $5 billion. The tobacco and food giant, RJR Nabisco, said today it will lay off 6,000 workers. That's about 10% of its workforce over the next few years. This is another attempt to improve earnings. On Wall Street today, stocks were up in heavy trading. Don Amici, a dashing and diverse leading man, died of cancer today. He was 85 years old. Amici's career spanned 60 years. Amici was a great radio star during the golden age of radio in the 30s, but his lasting fame came from appearances in more than 50 motion pictures. In his early films, he was best known for his title role in the story of Alexander Graham Bell.
What did I say? Tell me.
Amici's personal favorite was the 1943 film Heaven Can Wait.
You're so charming, so young, and so beautiful.
Just when he was all but forgotten, he was cast as an eccentric millionaire in Trading Places. That ended a 14-year film hiatus. And that was followed by Cocoon, for which he won Best Supporting Actor.
You've given to me your love. You've given to me, and I hope I've earned, your respect. For all these, I am deeply grateful.
When Nightly News continues, making parents pay child support. Some states now have radical solutions.
Step back, spread your legs, please.
On America Close Up tonight, getting parents to pay up. deadbeat parents, those who don't pay their child support. More than 15 million children are affected nationwide. Some states now are trying some radical solutions to collect nearly $30 billion still outstanding. NBC's Dawn Fratangelo has more.
It was a big night for Bobby Harwell at the Georgia Lottery.
Who is it? Oh, Bobby!
It was also a lucky night for his 3 teenage children. That's because before Harwell collects his $1 million jackpot, the state's lottery commission will deduct the $15,000 he owes in back child support.
I went through a very bad period of time, and there were some times that I just absolutely could not afford to pay.
It's money that he has owed to the children, that he's owed to me. We've had to do without in order to make ends meet.
Georgia is one of 10 states now collecting delinquent child support payments from lottery winners. It's one solution for states which are after an estimated $27 billion nationwide owed for child support. That much money has many agencies taking radical steps. One county in California is using public humiliation.
Again, we're going to run the tape so that you can help us locate Contra Costa's most wanted deadbeat parents.
This cable program is modeled after the show America's Most Wanted.
He's 36 years old.
And features the county's most delinquent parents.
He has 2 minor children.
Deadbeats in Franklin County, Ohio, are treated like real criminals.
Just go ahead and put your hands on the back here.
2 full-time deputies do nothing but track down and arrest deadbeat parents. This time, it was Charles Malone, who owes nearly $11,000 in back payments.
You guys be all right. Step back for me.
I've been unemployed. My wife works part-time, and she only brings home $160 a week, and I've got 4 other children, and we barely get by with it.
Everybody has an excuse.
We could write a book with the excuses we get.
The deputies also tracked the Hennings father.
These kids they're dying here. You know, they're hurt.
We all deserve more than what he's given us.
So often the problem of child support is compounded by bitter custody battles. Fathers' rights advocates argue that solving the problem involves better visitation for fathers, not just branding them deadbeats.
We should know what it takes really to get support paid, and that's enforce visitation as aggressively as child support is enforced. Children are entitled not only to support, but they're entitled to both their parents.
Jeffrey Leving represents fathers like Dennis Eilenfeld of Illinois, whose ex-wife placed this sign in the window of their home.
Are you a deadbeat dad?
No, not at all. I'm a super dad. In fact, I consider myself a really, truly very dedicated and loving and affectionate dad.
Eilenfeld now has liberal visitation with his daughter Ashley, but only after a long battle with his wife and a court system he believes paints too many fathers with the same negative brush. Still, the picture is most bleak for the estimated 17 million children who are denied support. And states, many of which pick up the tab, are convinced more and more that the only solutions are radical ones. For America Close Up, Dawn Fratangelo, NBC News, Chicago.
Overseas now in South Africa, in Cape Town, blacks today took seats in power for the first time in more than 3 centuries. They're part of a new multiracial transition council that will steer the country toward democracy. And while that was going on, some whites opposed to power sharing occupied a fort near Pretoria today. When we come back, Apple Computer, a Texas town, and benefits for gay couples. Well, the commissioners of Williamson County, Texas, have decided that they can live with a few homosexual couples after all, especially if it means 1,000 new jobs. Last week, these same commissioners turned away the jobs because they might include benefits for same-sex couples. NBC's Jim Cummins tonight.
The Williamson County Commissioners prayed this morning before voting again on tax breaks for Apple Computer.
We confess to you that the last 7 days have felt like 7 years.
Last week, the commissioners voted 3-2 to deny $750,000 in tax breaks to Apple. The reason? The computer giant provides insurance benefits to same-sex couples if one of them is on the payroll. Greg Boatwright was one of the county commissioners who voted against Apple.
All I'm saying with my vote is that the homosexual lifestyle should not be subsidized by government.
So So Apple dropped plans to build a new $80 million facility in Williamson County that was expected to provide a $30 million boost to the economy and 1,000 jobs. Today, before another vote, many customers at the L&M Cafe near the courthouse said government shouldn't tell private companies what to do.
I think we have to stay away from moral legislation, and I feel like the commissioners should have just stuck to the tax trade-off and not gone beyond that.
85 companies have moved to Texas from California the past 5 years. State leaders, including Governor Ann Richards, were afraid the rejection of Apple over a gay rights issue would scare away other companies. Following much pressure from the governor and others, the county board reversed itself today and did grant tax breaks to Apple by a vote of 3-2. David Hayes is the one who changed his vote.
I strongly support efforts which strengthen our economic future. That's exactly what my vote today represents. It's not a change in my values.
So, Apple will come to Williamson County after all. Gay rights leader David Smith.
Jobs have triumphed over prejudice.
Apple plans to break ground for its new facility next year and begin operations in late '95. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Georgetown, Texas.
That's Nightly News for this Tuesday. Tonight on Dateline NBC, more on that FBI sting aimed at NASA corruption. Tonight, including an exclusive interview with the astronaut who's now been cleared. He was a target of that sting. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you back here tomorrow night.